Hello, everyone. Today we want to celebrate Karl Marx's most important contribution to humanity. On this day, March 14th, 1883, Karl Marx died and became a good commie. Hooray! Let's all celebrate him rotting in hell where he belongs. I love how people still celebrate, still regard Marx as knowledgeable about anything, despite the fact that he never produced anything in his whole life. I mean, like, he never held public office. Never ran a business. All he did was theorize about shit. It's like, he read a bunch of books, but never put any of that knowledge to practical use by, experimenting with his theories, to see what worked, what didn't work, what was practical, what was impractical. I mean, it's all great to have theories and all, but would you fly in a plane that was built strictly on theory, that was never tested, never had shakedowns to see how it operated in different conditions? I mean, you would have your head examined if you were to board a plane that had never been tested. But we have legions of people to this day that still believe in this man's theories that were never tested anywhere, never tried out practically to see if they worked in the real world. They just accept his theories. They never question what they read about Marx's theories. They just accept it without any sort of skepticism. They just, they put this faith in this man who literally never did anything in his life. Like, he never ran a business. Like, I've run a business. I know what it's like to have youthful idealism and it all being shattered by human nature. You decide that you're going to run a business and you're going to do certain things a certain way based off of your idealism, and you quickly learn that human nature, it refuses to cooperate with your best intentions. And this is the problem that I have with Marx and his ideas. The man never tried out his ideas in a practical way, like in either business or government, and therefore was not disabused of his youthful idealism. The other problem I have with Marxism and Marx is his ideas were developed 200 years ago. What we had 200 years ago for medical care? Leeches. Yes, that's right, kids. We used to apply leeches to people to cure people of diseases. I mean, now, to address medical issues in the 21st century, you would never go to a doctor and say, "Hey, doc, throw some leeches on me. I think I have some bad spirits in my blood." But people still insist on trying to address 21st century problems with 19th century solutions that were developed by this malcontent who never held a job or public office. So that's the other problem I have with Marx's ideas. But we have, legions of people who still insist, they want 19th century economic solutions for 21st century problems. Things are way different from 200 years ago. The economy is much, much more complex. There are differences in the way society is organized. You can't address 21st century problems with 19th century solutions. And to be fair, Marx's ideas were not solutions to anything. The man didn't know shit about shit. Let's take the labor theory of value as an example. Marx posited that, it was labor, the amount of labor that was put into any sort of commodity that created the value of that product, right? So, for example, buggy whip. Let's take a buggy whip as an example. Marx said that it was the labor that was put into creating a buggy whip that would determine its value. But here's a problem with that rationale. If the car was just invented, there is no need for buggy whips anymore. Nobody's riding horses anymore. All right. So the market determines whether, your buggy whip could be the best buggy whip that was ever developed in the history of buggy whips. But if the car was just invented and the market no longer needs buggy whips because they're all buying cars now, then the market determines the value of your product, not your labor. And this is a widely held view of Marxism that both right and left economists agree upon, that his theory of value was wrong. So if this most fundamental aspect of Marxism was wrong, that both left-wing and right-wing economists agree on, then you can the rest of it you can just chuck it out the window. And that's the problem with Marx. I mean, these people who read Marx, they're young idealists who have no practical knowledge of business or markets. They read something uncritically, they fall in love with it, and they think they can burn down the world and start a revolution and impose these ideas that have been widely disproven. The other problem I have with Marx is based off the labor theory of value, is that he forwards the idea that owners of companies exploit workers by robbing them of the surplus value that they create. Never mind the fact that these arrangements are entered to by both parties voluntarily. But Marx did the exact same thing his whole life. He exploited the surplus values that his family and his friends created so he could sponge off him his whole life. I mean, his parents, his Engels' parents. I mean, it was so bad. Marx's mother actually wrote. At one point, she wrote to him and she said, where is that quote? Let me find that. I wish you would make some capital instead of just writing about it. And that was his own mother. How about the only thing that Marx got right was his thoughts on the Jews? I'm just going to leave a couple of quotes on that so you can see what he had to say about that for yourself. And so, you know what? All I have to say is to people who are still, reading Marx, it's like, read another book, man. That was 200 years ago. Move on. Read another book.